morning. Sitting in for Gretchen Hall, my name is Pauline Verzosa. It is Monday, the 10th of March, and we're bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. And here are the stories that matter today. Former President Rodrigo Duterte has responded to reports of an alleged ICC arrest warrant. He said his actions were driven by a desire to maintain peace and order. A South Korean fugitive who escaped days ago has been rearrested by the Bureau of Immigration in Pampanga. BI Commissioner Joel Viado has taken swift action, calling for the dismissal of involved personnel. Pope Francis is in his fourth week in hospital fighting double pneumonia. But the Vatican says the pontiff is showing a good response to his treatment and his overall condition is gradually improving. And in the UAAP, the NU Lady Bulldogs kept their record immaculate, defeating the UP Lady Maroons in straight sets. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, Pope Francis, who has been hospitalized at Rome's Gemelli Hospital since February 14, is responding well to treatment for double pneumonia, according to the Vatican. And now let's get more details on that from Morning Matters host Gretchen Hall, who now joins us live from Rome still. Hi, Gretchen. What can you tell us?
Good morning, Pauline. Coming to you live from Rome, and we have good news to start your week off with. As the Pope enters his fourth week in the hospital, he has registered a slight gradual improvement. He remains to be stable over the weekend, and this time he is now able to add solid food to his diet. Those are new developments, Pauline. We haven't seen that in the past weeks. What we've seen, though, in the past Sunday is that he was able to receive the Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin, and give an Angelus address to the Catholic faithful, thanking his doctors. He did that again on Sunday, and these are developments that we are seeing and improvements in the Pope's health. Yet, even as he is sick, the Pope continues with his fighting spirit. Also, yesterday, he was able to join his secretaries, his department secretaries, or what we call the Roman Curia, for their spiritual exercises online. So it's not just the rosary that he is joining online, but also these exercises. And in the meantime, I was also very busy over the weekend, Pauline, just like the Pope, as I got an exclusive look into life inside the Vatican City State. Here is what life is like in the smallest country in the world.
It was a quiet and still morning inside the Vatican City State. No Swiss guards or cars lined up outside a simple guest house, signifying the principal is not around. This is the home that Pope Francis chose inside the 44-hectare Vatican City State.
Nakikita niyo yung Vatican flag na yan? Diyan nakatira si Pope Francis sa guest house o tinatawag na Casa Santa Marta. Imbis na doon siya sa Apostolic Palace kung saan tradisyonal na namamalagi yung Santo Papa, pinili ni Pope Francis na dito na lang tumira. Kasi yung guest house na yan ay talagang tinitirahan ng mga kardinal kapag pumupunta sila dito para bumoto sa isang conclave. Si Pope Francis, simula 2013, hindi na umalis dyan pagkatapos siyang mahirang na bagong Santo Papa.
A humble home instead of a palace, Pope Francis set the tone right at the start of his papacy by saying he wants to live a simpler and more communal life. He's the first pontiff in 110 years to choose not to live in the Grand Apostolic Palace. Instead, he's made it his office, meeting important people and greeting pilgrims there at the Sunday Angelus, and opening up parts of it to tourists, bringing more revenue to a financially troubled Vatican. Well, the Vatican certainly does not appear to be lacking. Spanning over half of the city-state, about 23 hectares, are the breathtaking Vatican Gardens, a tranquil paradise in its own right. This Garden of Eden features elegant fountains and serene nature trails, adorned with sacred images and devotions, creating a space of spiritual beauty. Established in 1279 by Pope Nicholas III, the Vatican Gardens serve as the Pope's place of play, contemplation, and relaxation. They also weave the state's rich tapestry of art, history, and religion. Among the highlights are the numerous depictions of Mary, with Pope Francis often seen in prayer at the Lourdes Grotto, a place close to his heart. The small tulip garden, offered to Pope John Paul II by the Polish people during his liturgical memorial, symbolizes purity and unconditional love. This turtle pond by Pope Pius IV's 15th century villa, as seen in the movie Conclave, the majestic fountain of dragons commissioned by Pope Gregory XIII, and the well-manicured garden pathways themselves that Benedict XVI often walked. Yet the Vatican City-State is not just the seat of the Holy See. It is also an independently running country with a government of its own. In 1929, the Lateran Treaty separated its territory from Italy. In fact, it has its own bank, police station, parish, mall, grocery, colleges, radio station, train station, and its own seat of government. It mints its own euros and issues its own passports and license plates. It even has a gas station inside, loading tax-free fuel for Vatican employees.
Dito sa helipad na ito nakita si Pope Benedict XVI sa kanyang mga huling sandali bilang isang active na Santo Papa. Mula sa helipad na ito, siya ay lumipad patungo sa Castel Gandolfo kung saan niya sinimulan ang kanyang retirement.
And just like any household that must have its source of income, tourist revenues from St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican Museum, the Sistine Chapel, the Apostolic Palace, and the summer home at Castel Gandolfo play a crucial role in supporting the church's activities. These funds help cover the Vatican's operating costs and maintain a pension fund for retired and ailing clergy. However, this delicate financial balance has become increasingly challenging in recent years, with the pandemic lockdowns further exacerbating the imbalance. In order to plug the widening financial gap, Pope Francis has appointed a woman as governor of the Vatican, saying women manage better than we do. He has also created a commission on donations for the Holy See to ask for help from the 1.4 billion Catholic faithful after a reported pushback on proposed budget cuts from cardinals. This signifies a step towards reforming the sturdy Vatican bureaucracy. It seems the 88-year-old pontiff has his plate full, even as he recovers in the hospital from double pneumonia. It's no surprise that Pope Francis continues to work from his papal apartment, with a 2,000-year-old house to keep and a church to lead through conflict, climate change, and information warfare. Pope Francis knows change must begin from within.
Pauline, after I went in there, I got a better sense of what Pope Francis was dealing with prior to his hospitalization. He was dealing with all sorts of stress internally, externally, dealing with conflicts around the world. And apart from that, he had financial woes to take care of inside the Vatican. We have been told that prior to his hospitalization, he was already creating a special task force to do a statewide auditing. Now, that's not really to target any single individual, but to actually improve the fiscal discipline of the whole city-state. As Pope, he is leader of the church, but he is also leader of the political institution, even if he appointed a female governor. So the Pope really tried to push for reform, not just with his pronouncements that were a little bit controversial and rung throughout the walls of the churches around the world, but also with his own leadership to his church leaders inside, to his clergy, to his cardinals, bishops, and more. And now we understand the full scope of what he was dealing with and why he is still working even from his hospital bed at the Gemelli Hospital. He continues to respond to therapy, to respiratory and motor physiotherapy, but the Vatican says that we will get updates every other day now because he remains to be in stable condition. Pauline?
Well, Gretchen, that was definitely an amazing inside look inside the Pope's residence there in the Vatican. And it's certainly great news to start the week to hear that his condition has been improving. But speaking of that, I mean, tell us more about the faithful's reaction to the Pope's improving condition.
Pauline, talagang masaya ang lahat kasi nakahinga, no? Parang nakahinga, and then you could also feel the tension in the air has gone down. When I went into the Vatican, people were a lot more relaxed, and we hope to see the same thing. The rosaries at night continue though, even with the Pope's improving condition, gabi-gabi yan, hindi nagtatapos yung pagdarasal. At the prognosis remains guarded. He is still 88 years old. He's still in critical condition. Anything could still happen. Do remember in the past weeks, he was doing fine, and then suddenly there was an attack. So they are not removing the guarded prognosis, but the fact that they're mentioning that he has slight gradual improvements and that he is now eating solid food is something that the Catholic faithful is definitely rejoicing about.
Well, hopefully, Gretchen, I mean, after all these signs of improvement, the Pope finally eating and seeing his secretaries, is what follows is an image of him waving from the Gemelli Hospital, right? Finally seeing him in good health. But ito, Gretchen, you've already been covering the Pope there in Rome for a week now. Tuloy-tuloy yung mga storya mo araw-araw. But we wanted to ask you, ano ba yung pinakatumatak sa'yo while covering this story about the Pope's health?
Ang pinakatumatak sa akin is talagang palaban nitong si Pope Francis. Fighting spirit, ika nga. Tayo parang iniisip natin kahit 88 years old na siya. I mean, he's done a lot through his life, right? He can literally, I mean, we've seen the older people and then they can put things to rest. But what people inside have told me is that he has still a lot of things that he wants to do. Marami pa siyang kailangang ma-solve na mga problema. Bukod dun sa financial woes ng Vatican, he really wants to be part of the solution of ending conflicts around the world. That's from an inside source inside the Vatican nung pumasok tayo doon. Ang nakwento rin sa atin nga, kasi nga sabi ko, uuwi na ako kasi okay naman na si Pope. Pero sabi sa akin, teka, sigurado ka ba? Kumbaga parang, he was also putting me on guard when it comes to that, na parang huwag kayong mag-relax, no? Kailangan tingin nyo muna, no? Make sure that, he's doing fine because people are still on alert. We also tried to ask for interviews with some people inside, but they don't want to talk because of the sensitivity of the situation. I mean, it's here in Rome or in the Vatican, it is bad taste to be able to talk about anything. Kaya parang pag kumwari yung mga celebrations sa inaharap, parang ayaw pa pag-usapan, yung mga gagawin sa inaharap, ayaw pang itackle, ayaw din magpa-interview because ayaw nila ma-offend si Pope. I mean, para kang may lolo na may sakit, tapos everything is on hold. Ganon yung pakiramdam dito, ano? So, everybody's trying to be careful, but there's also a lot of fake news going out on social media about the next pope, about this cardinal being a strong candidate, this and that, this and that. Ang daming fake news. None of them have been confirmed here. All we know is that there are problems inside, and we have heard it from several people already. But Pope Francis is a fighter. You can see it in the spurts in his medical bulletins na hindi siya nagiging okay, tapos bigla lumalaban nagiging okay, tapos bigla nagkakaroon naman ng problema, tapos bigla magiging okay na naman. So that's him actually fighting through his sickness. He wants to be alive, he wants to remain alive, and he wants to do more than being alive. He actually still wants to lead the church, and that is a good sign.
Well, it's that fighting spirit that is inspiring a lot of people. But Gretchen, thank you very much for giving us some good news to start the week. That was Morning Matters host Gretchen Hall reporting live from Rome in Italy. Now, in other news, former President Rodrigo Duterte has addressed reports of an alleged International Criminal Court, or ICC, arrest warrant against him. During his speech in Wan Chai, Hong Kong, Duterte insisted his actions were aimed at ensuring peace and order. He maintained that whatever wrongdoings he may have committed were for the welfare of the Filipino people. The ICC is investigating the former president of the Philippines for alleged crimes against humanity linked to the war on drugs.
Ang balita ko, may warrant daw ako. Yung sa ICC or something. Matagal na akong hinahabol ng mga Bakit ko ginawa yan? Para sa inyo at ang inyong mga anak sa aking bayan. Okay lang, tatanggapin ko yan. Wala tayong magawa eh. Hulihin tayo kung ikulong tayo.
Meantime, Malacanang said it is prepared if the ICC issues an arrest warrant against Duterte. Press Secretary J. Ruiz said that the government would provide assistance if requested by Interpol. And now for the weather, parts of the country are expected to experience rains today, according to Pagasa. The shear line is likely to bring rains to the Cordillera Administrative Region, mainland Cagayan, Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, Aurora, Quezon, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Albay, and the Ilocos region. Pagasa also noted that the northeast monsoon is currently affecting Batanes and the Babuyan Islands. Meanwhile, Caraga, Davao Region, Northern Mindanao, Socsargen, Eastern Samar, Leyte, and Southern Leyte may experience cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms due to the easterlies. Isolated rains are expected in Metro Manila and the rest of the country, also due to the easterlies. The State Weather Bureau has stated that no low-pressure areas are being monitored as of this moment. Now, don't go away. We will be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The Bureau of Immigration rearrested South Korean fugitive Na Ik-hyun in Angeles City, Pampanga, days after his escape. In a press briefing, BI Commissioner Joel Viado presented Na with a South Korean accomplice who allegedly aided his escape. Viado said the agency is now prioritizing his deportation. Na, arrested back in May 2023, remained in the country due to an estafa case. He escaped on March 4 after a court hearing, initially reported to have slipped away through a restroom. However, CCTV footage showed him walking unrestrained with his escorts, boarding a BI van, and later arriving at a bar in Quezon City. Another clip showed him crossing a street before entering a white van. Viado has already ordered the immediate dismissal of BI personnel suspected of involvement in his escape.
Meron po mga alien na ang choice nila is they would much rather stay in the Philippines than be deported. Ang direktiba po, yan ho mapadismiss agad para ho magkaroon ng desisyon agad.
Meantime, President Bongbong Marcos has directed local government units to intensify their efforts against malnutrition and stunting. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza has this report.
President Bongbong Marcos admitted that the country still faces significant problems when it comes to malnutrition. During the 2024 National Nutrition Awarding Ceremony last Friday, PBBM emphasized the impact of malnutrition on the cognitive development of children. He cited that many children are left behind when it comes to education.
That study found most students are already 2 to 3 years behind curriculum expectations by the time they reach grade 3. And therefore, it's very, very clear it's never too early because the effects are the effects of malnutrition, stunting, that start at a very young age. And after a certain age, maybe around 8 years old, they are very difficult to reverse, if actually possible.
This is also the reason why the Department of Health and the Department of Social Welfare and Development have changed their strategy. Both agencies' focus now is on the prevention phase or avoiding malnutrition and stunting in children. The President also outlined the programs related to this. He explained that it will start with ensuring adequate nutrition during the first 1,000 days from pregnancy up to feeding programs.
Meron tayong bagong sistema ngayon. Pagka yung binibigyan natin na kasama sa feeding program, meron silang booklet. At parang sinasabi, sa bawat linggo, ito yung dapat na makuha kayong carbohydrates, pero dapat meron din kayong gulay na ganito, dapat meron din kayo. So pag inubos mo na yung isa, kailangan yun na lang yung natitirang kukunin nyo. That way, we somehow balance.
PBBM also made sure that the national government will not be the only one involved in the initiatives against malnutrition.
I have directed the DILG to ensure that healthcare and nutrition are included as a priority indicator in our seal of good local governance. Healthcare in terms of nutrition, healthcare in terms of vaccination, in terms of access to health services.
The chief executive further stressed the importance of remembering the lessons left by the pandemic and encouraged local governments to strengthen their healthcare systems. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza, We're One News.
Now, in other news, Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP Cabra successfully shadowed a China Coast Guard ship near Zambales. Despite rough seas with waves up to 5 meters, the BRP Cabra maintained its position to prevent the Chinese ship from approaching the Philippine coastline. PCG Chief Admiral Ronnie Hill Gavan stressed their mission is to prevent China from normalizing its unlawful presence in the country's exclusive economic zone, or EEZ. China refuses to recognize a 2016 arbitral ruling, rejecting its claims, leading to continued confrontations in the West Philippine Sea. Now, shifting gears to sports, defending champion National University remains undefeated in the UAAP Season 87 Women's Volleyball Tournament. The Lady Bulldogs swept the University of the Philippines to secure its 5th straight win at the Mall of Asia Arena on Sunday. Final score here, 25-13, 25-23, and 25-22. Bella Belen led the NU Lady Bulldogs with 17 points, while Alyssa Solomon and Vange Alinsug added 16 and 11 points, respectively. Also extending its winning streak is the University of Santo Tomas. The UST Tigresses dominated the Ateneo Lady Eagles 25-20, 25-23, and 25-21. Angge Poyos led the Tigresses with 19 points, while Regina Jurado and Pia Abu contributed 14 and 13 markers, respectively. Don't go away. We still have more stories coming up after this break. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters. I'm Pauline Verzosa, sitting in for Gretchen Hall. Today's top story is about the alleged ICC warrant for former President Rodrigo Duterte. We also reported on the government's plans to fight malnutrition and stunting in children. And to discuss that, along with other pressing matters and, of course, politics, well, we have Mamamayang Liberal Party List third nominee and Liberal Party Executive Vice President Erin Tañada. Good morning, sir, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Pauline, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us also this Monday morning to start your week. But before we get into the campaign of ML Party List, all other topics, can we get your reaction, sir, to this news that broke out that there is allegedly arrest warrant looming for the former president of the Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte?
Well, if there is one, then we would welcome such issuance of an arrest warrant so that justice can be given to those who were victimized by the war on drugs.
Well, I mean, sir, you are a human rights lawyer.
Yes.
How big of a win is this for the victims and families of the war on drugs?
Well, it's a step forward. It's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to hold President Rodrigo Duterte accountable, giving his day in court, and try to explain to the ICC that what he did was right. But you don't do peace and order and start killing people just because of that mission that he had. Murder is a crime. And any number of murders pursuant to that goal would really get you into the eyes of the ICC.
Well, you have people saying, Kong, no, na this has long been brewing already. I mean, the investigation started a few years back already, and people have been saying it's long overdue, itong arrest warrant. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think they're just doing their homework.
Okay.
They're trying to get as much testimony possible because you don't just issue a warrant of arrest and then later on your case will just unravel in front of you. So I think they've done their homework and they're in the last phases of that before they issue that warrant of arrest. Now, whether that will happen in the next few days is the question that everyone wants to find out.
Were you able to speak with any of the victims?
Some of them, and especially with the group of Father Flavi.
Yeah.
And they are of course waiting that they be given justice because their loved ones were not necessarily given their day in court. If they are indeed involved in drugs, it's not for the police officers or for the president to condemn them and call for the murder of these people. It is the courts themselves to determine whether there is enough basis for such allegation that they are involved in drugs. So this is one of the reasons why the families of the victims are going out and hoping that they are proven correct, that this was not the proper process to be followed.
And the lack of due process,
Yes.
right, is really the point here. But Ko, I mean, you are running with former Senator Laila de Lima. And as we all know, the former senator also had her share of mishaps with the former president. I mean, she was sent to jail for drug charges, but was eventually cleared.
Yes.
What was the reaction of have you gotten to speak with the former senator?
I haven't spoken to former Senator Laila. She's right now in Pangasinan. But I believe that she welcomes this because she was a victim also of human rights violations. Although she was given her day in court and eventually cleared, but we feel that her rights were abused by the president because, to start with, there was really no case in the beginning, and that the witnesses that were paraded against her were criminals. So why give credence to the testimony of criminals over that of the reputation of Sen. Laila.
Okay, but Congressman, I mean, the question here also is, does the ICC still have jurisdiction over the Philippines? Because we withdrew back in 2019.
Yes.
But they are saying they are investigating the time period that we were still a
Yes.
member. Help us understand, Kong. I mean, is that a valid ground to arrest someone?
Yes, as our laws provide for, and also since we signed as a member of the ICC, as long as you were a member and all the crimes that are being investigated are crimes during the time you were a member of the ICC, then that's valid ground. We have our own law, 9851, if I'm not mistaken, that says that we have original jurisdiction of the case. But under Section 17, if there's another tribunal that has conducted already investigation, then the Philippine government can waive jurisdiction in favor of the tribunal. So if the current administration of President Marcos agrees to waive jurisdiction, then ICC can proceed.
What do you think the administration should do?
I'm not a mind reader.
No, but you already have Malacanang saying, right? They will. They are
will
prepared for
cooperate.
any eventuality. They will cooperate.
They will cooperate.
So,
So if a warrant of arrest is issued by Malacanang, then I think they will execute the warrant of arrest and they will detain President Duterte.
well, help us understand also, Kong, no, why are we required to cooperate in a request from the Interpol? That's because we're members of Interpol.
Well, it's a red notice informing other countries of supposedly people who are wanted to, and they are asking assistance from all governments to detain these personalities in order that judicial processes may proceed. Now, whether the judicial process is that of the ICC or that of another country, then we follow that process. And then later on, it goes through the process of extradition from our country to the person who's requested, depending on whether we have extradition treaties with such countries.
Okay, but the question here is that the former president is not in the Philippines. He's in Hong Kong for an event with OFWs.
Yes.
So what happens now, Kong, right? Do we wait for him to come back? What if he doesn't come back?
Well, we don't know. We'll just have to wait, because if he claims that he's not afraid of the ICC, that even he was goading the ICC to speed up the process.
Yeah, during the House hearings, right?
Because he's not afraid to face them and telling them that I'm getting old. Maybe I might die, that nothing will happen to the process itself. So hopefully we shall see movement in the ICC, especially the release of the warrants, if there are, and so that he may even be given his day in court.
Correct. Oo. But Kong, can he seek political asylum in a country like China, for instance?
Well, he can go to countries where also these countries are not members of the ICC. So we shall see. Again, there's this saying in law, flight is guilt. So if you're adamant that you have done nothing wrong,
You will come home and face...
You will face the music, and you will prove that you're not guilty, just the same as Manay Laila did when she was charged for allegedly having committed drug conspiracy, pushing, etc.
But I'm seeing two scenarios here, Kong. No? One nga is the president, if an arrest warrant is issued, the president might not come back to the Philippines and seek political asylum somewhere, or he comes back and seeks a legal recourse through the local courts and claim that he's being persecuted. You know, they can flip the script, galvanize support and all that to destabilize the situation.
Well, that's his right to do so. He come back and submit himself. But again, the government can also waive jurisdiction.
Okay, yeah.
And if it waives jurisdiction over the case, then it's the ICC that will try the case in The Hague.
But who will try? I mean, that's a question also, Kong, right? Because this is the International Criminal Court.
Yes.
Who will be the prosecutors? I mean, where will he be detained? Where will this trial happen?
Well, the trial will happen in The Hague.
In The Hague, in Netherlands.
In Netherlands,
Okay.
and there are special prosecutors there, experts who have done this. They have tried so many persons who are charged with crimes against humanity. Some have been convicted, some have been acquitted. So there's that track record of, you could say, fairness based on the evidence presented. So if truly President Duterte feels that he has not committed any crime, then submit himself and prove to the International Court that he has done nothing wrong. And the ICC has track records of acquitting people.
Who will be the defense team of the president? I mean, will that be from his own
He can
team?
choose.
He can choose his own.
He can choose his own team, and I'm sure he will get also maybe an international practitioner who is very familiar with the cases that have been brought to the ICC to be on his side.
Pero ito, Kong, no? Because you have the president in Hong Kong for an OFW event,
Yes.
meeting with the OFWs. But what do you think about the entourage that accompanied him there? They're saying there are about 10 bodyguards, security personnel. You also have former ES Medaldea. You have the wife of si Hani, of the president, and their kid. They have a team of lawyers. I mean, what is that saying? Does the president really travel? Has he been traveling frequently to meet OFWs?
Well, it's
overseas?
election season. And of course, he has endorsed candidates, and he's courting the votes of the OFWs to vote for his candidate. So I think
could be that.
Yeah, I don't like to speculate beyond
Okay.
that. So we'll just have to wait if whether he will arrive back in the Philippines either today, tomorrow, or he will extend, quote unquote, his stay in Hong Kong.
And that's something we really have to watch out for, right? But ito, Kong, you mentioned earlier, there have been people who have been acquitted by the ICC. Talk about if the president uses his argument that he was just ensuring peace and order in the country. That it was his way to maintain peace and order for the Filipino people. That's why.
I don't think murder or committing murder in that number is a way to get him off the hook. I think there are enough testimony already that the ICC has gathered, especially from hitmen. No, remember this
Came forward, yeah.
This pattern is not only did not only happen during the time that he was president, but also during the time that he was mayor. So maybe the testimony of his hitmen would provide an insight on how this war on drugs was interplanned.
How significant is public support, public clamor in all this? Does the ICC
No,
listen to that? Are they
don't
influenced
look
by
at they don't look at public clamor. They look at
Just the evidence.
The evidence presented. They look at the crimes committed, and if there is enough evidence to convict a person. And public clamor will not really play a part.
How about the international community assisting in issuing the arrest warrant?
Well, again, the arrest warrant will be issued by the ICC. It's a matter of getting maybe other nations to implement the red notice. So that means that wherever...
Which country na member po ng Interpol and ICC can, or no, not just Interpol, ICC, member of an ICC.
Member ICC, or those countries that are you would say, not necessarily members of the ICC, but receive the red notice, they have the discretion whether to implement the red notice or not.
Will there be presumption as well, Kong, ng innocence? I mean,
Of course.
how heavy is the standard of conviction?
Of course,
in
there's
this kind of case?
there's a presumption of innocence. That's why President Duterte will be allowed to present evidence to prove that he is innocent for whatever crime that was forwarded by the ICC. So again, if he believes that he is really innocent, then he should be prepared and face whatever charges that the ICC may bring.
And the burden of proof will be on the prosecutors?
On the prosecutors.
And the standard of conviction, Kong, is guilty beyond reasonable doubt in the ICC? Tama po ba?
They will look at patterns, and I believe it will be beyond reasonable doubt.
Beyond
because
reasonable doubt.
if there's no strength in the evidence, then eventually they will be acquitted.
How transparent will the proceedings be, Kong? I mean, will this be streamed? How accessible will it be if it does proceed to trial in the Hague?
Will it be streamed? Yes, I believe so. There are certain hearings that are streamed, especially in the Facebook page of the ICC. There are proceedings that will be streamed. Of course, I don't know if there are instances that the defendant can or the accused can request that it should not be streamed, but technically proceedings in the ICC, especially when it comes to decisions are streamed by the ICC.
I see. Well, Kong, before we take a quick break, I want to ask, will you make this issue central to your campaign for ML party list?
No, it's not going to be central to the campaign of ML party list. Again, what we are more concerned of are the basic issues that the basic sectors are being faced with, which is housing for the urban poor, the restoration of the 50-kilometer municipal waters for the fisher folk, increased livelihoods for the farmers, access to education for the youth, and etc., etc. These are more pressing issues that we are fighting for.
We will break down those issues after this break. Don't go away. We still have more matters to discuss. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Morning Matters here on One News. We are still joined by ML third nominee and Liberal Party Executive Vice President Erin Tañada. Okay, Kong, as promised, let's now talk about politics and the campaign so far of Mamamayang Liberal. How has it been, Congressman?
Well, it's been grueling because we have to, it's like running for the Senate. You have to introduce ML party list to the people, considering that there are around 156 party list organizations competing for more or less 55 seats in the Senate. Because under the Constitution, 20% of members of the House of Representatives should come from party list representatives.
Oh, Congressman, tell us about the Liberal Party's decision also to form a party-list group, because there were efforts already back in 2021, right, to register ML as a party list, but you didn't get accreditation. Now you do. So people are asking, right, is this a strategy for the party to make sure that you get a seat in Congress?
Well, not necessarily. We have also Liberal Party candidates running in different districts. But because of, you would say, the state of Philippine politics in our country, where after every presidential election, you see the elected officials jump from one political party to the other. And we are also victims of that. As members of the Liberal Party, we saw that in 2010, all those who were not members of the Liberal Party joined us under the administration of President Noynoy Aquino. And then when President Duterte won in 2016, we lost our members to PDP. And we again saw that in 2022, when President Bongbong won, everybody either went to PFF or Lakas. Now, we felt in order to stabilize the party, and not make the party only composed of elected officials, we decided in 2011, as early as 2011, to open the membership of the party to sectoral formations: workers, students, farmers, women, senior citizens, etc., IPs, LGBTQIA. And knowing for a fact that the essence of the party list system has been abused, because under the 1987 Constitution, these seats are supposed to be reserved for the marginalized sectors. In the election in 1987, under the first election under the 1987 Constitution, President Cory Aquino and President Ramos were given the authority to appoint who would sit as marginalized sectors. Until the party list law was enacted. And we had the party list elections in 1998. Well and good. There were a lot of marginalized representatives until the decision of the Supreme Court came out saying that the representative who will sit need not be a member of the marginalized sector. So you see the abuse of the party list system being invaded by political dynasties, business interests, contractors, and what have you. And now, the essence of the Constitution is not being followed. No one now is really championing for the marginalized sector. And since the Liberal Party already created sectoral formations in its membership, they felt that these sectoral formations now can compete in the party list.
It's good you touched on that, Kong, right? Because there was already a report released by election watchdog Contra Daya stating that 55% of the party list groups joining the 2025 midterm elections don't really represent the poor or the marginalized sector. So my question is, which sector does the Mamamayang Liberal Party list really represent? Because it's multi-sectoral, as you mentioned.
Well, it's no different from Bayan Muna, Akbayan, no. So we have urban poor, we have women, we have youth, we have IP, we have LGBTQIA, we have senior citizens, we have farmers, we have fisher folk, no? And we have PWDs. So these in our consultation with these sectors, they provided us with a list of issues that they would want resolved. And we informed them that in order to be more efficient, we will take one issue per sector and focus on these issues, because we all know that each sector has a number of issues. So
one issue muna per
one issue per sector.
Okay.
So like I mentioned, the fisher folk, restoring the 15-kilometer municipal waters reserved for small fishermen. This was declared the provision in the Republic Act 8550 or the Fisheries Code was declared by the Supreme Court as unconstitutional through a technicality. And that's why in January you see different fisher folk organizations complain that they were not part of that judicial process. So they're asking that they be allowed to intervene. Farmers, of course, increasing the livelihood of farmers, and not only that, trying to already think on how to encourage the youth or even children of farmers to enter into agriculture, because the farmers today are mostly senior citizens. Ask their children if they want to be farmers, no one will want to agree. So we have to already think outside of the box to improve the livelihoods of farmers so that we can encourage.
Can continue also.
Yeah. So we can solve the issue of food security. Urban poor, of course, the issue of housing. They want to be given the option not only of the current policy of the current government of vertical housing, but also horizontal housing, and giving them the choice of continuing with the community mortgage program. No? And of course, the LGBTQIA community, you have the issue of the SOGI bill not yet being enacted into law, the issue of women who want more benefits, especially with regard to their health care, considering that even the PhilHealth now in the 2025 budget, their budget had been, the subsidy had been removed. So more benefits should be given also to the women. And we can go on and on and on.
Well, so one issue per sector, right, Kong? But let me ask you, because based on surveys, ML has been failing to secure at least 2% of the vote. What is your reaction to that, and how do you plan on getting your numbers up?
Well, again, party list elections is different from a national senatorial race or presidential race. Party list organizations know that they have certain number that they have to receive or to get in order to attain
And it
first
is
seat.
400,000
for one seat.
Okay.
No. So if you look at the surveys are done nationwide. If it so happens that the targeted area where you are
conducting
where you are conducting your campaign and where you're going to get most of your votes from is not part of the survey, then of course you will
won't reflect.
It won't reflect. So that's a bit what we see right now. The way we're doing it, we are targeting certain areas, certain municipalities even, in where we can get the votes
Secure.
that ML needs.
And which areas are these, Kong, no? Ito po ba yung sinasabi nating may pink magic pa rin?
Well, areas of course where VP Lenny was able to secure the highest number of votes.
We're talking about Camsur, Kong, Camsur, Quezon, Albay, Iloilo, Negros.
Yes. And of course, we are also conscious that there are also party lists coming from those provinces. So it's a matter of how do you strategize now in getting votes from those provinces, not necessarily competing and trying to win the province, because you will never do that. But you have now to identify how to maximize maybe your resources on certain municipalities and try to accumulate the number of votes you need.
How confident are you, Congressman, that you will be securing those votes as well?
I'm very confident that we will be able to secure with our lead nominee there, Manay Laila. ML will be able to get, at least we're assured of one seat. Now we're working on seat number 2 and seat number 3.
And you are the third nominee of
Yes.
ML parties. Ito, matanong ko lang, Kong, kaya po ba ML? Kasi may recall na yung 2 letters na yun when it comes to Filipinos, di ba? It stands for a mobile game. Kaya, is that a play on it as well?
No, not necessarily.
Because when you look at the list, di ba po, pag boboto kayo, pipili kayo ng party list, sometimes if you don't really resonate with you don't know the advocacy, then you just choose something that yung may recall eh.
Well, first of all, masyado mahaba yung mamamayang liberal.
Yes.
No? Hindi mo alam kung kakasya sa column.
Yeah.
That's one. And outside of that, ML, it's easy to connect also with Manay Laila.
Manay Laila. All right. That's a good one, Kong. No? Okay, but before we let you go, Congressman Erin Tañada, why should voters choose Mamamayang Liberal Party list in the coming elections?
At the end of the day, we have to again address the problems of our society, the poverty, the issues of the different sectors, and maybe this is the reason why that voters really don't choose their candidates correctly, because they don't see changes in government. So we feel that if we address the issues of the sectors, fight for them in the halls of Congress, and enact laws that will benefit them, then they will vote ML.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning and talking about so many things. That was ML, third nominee and Liberal Party Executive Vice President Erin Tañada. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and that's it for today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Pauline Verzosa, sitting in for Gretchen Ho. We are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a great